Hi, I'm Stuart from the Norfolk Honey Company and welcome to another Microscopy for Beekeepers session. These sessions are sponsored by Brunel Microscopes here in the UK. They provide a wide range of microscopes and microscope accessories. I'm delighted that they're sponsoring these videos. You can visit their website at www.brunelmicroscopes.co.uk, and they've got some fantastic equipment on their website that is really useful for all beekeepers and all microscopists, in fact. So today we're going to take a look at the hazel slide that I made last week. So if you haven't seen that already, please do pop back and take a look at that video, and if you haven't yet subscribed, please do consider subscribing, because we've got quite a back catalogue of not only microscopy videos now, but also getting started and beekeeping basics videos, and it would be great to share those with you. So today we're going to finish off the slide that I produced last week, and we made two slides last week. We made one with a square mount and then one with a circular mount, and it's the one with the circular mount that I want to take a look at today. We're going to use the Brunel microscopes that I've been supplied with, both the zoom stereo microscope and also the compound microscope, the SP50. And we'll take a look at how I put the paint onto the microscope slide using their ringing table, which is also a superb piece of kit. I've had several ringing tables in the past, but this one in particular is an excellent piece of equipment, and when you spin it, it freewheels really well. It continues spinning for a much longer time than any of the other ringing tables that I've had. So let's take a look at the slide. I'll just show you the hazel pollen under the compound microscope first, and then I'll show you how I clean up the slide, and then we'll pop it onto the ringing table and seal the edge of the cover slip so that the glycerine jelly underneath doesn't dry out, that the sample is then secure and safe underneath the cover slip, and that no air or contaminants can get underneath the cover slip. So we've got the camera on the microscope now. So this is the Brunel Microscopes SP50 compound microscope, and we're currently on 100 times magnification. I'm just going to bring these into focus, and there you can see the hazel pollen that we produced last week, and it's taken up the stain really well. So this is the stain that is in the glycerin jelly. So I think it's the safranine stain that has been mixed already into the glycerin jelly, which makes the whole process of producing a slide that much quicker. And I have to say, they look really good. So we'll bump the microscope up to the 400 times magnification. Looks like we've got a bit of dust in the turret there. And here we have the hazel pollen that we produced last week, and that looks really good. And you can see from the colours it's taken the stain up really well, and we can see the structures of the pollen grain quite clearly. So I'm really pleased with the way these slides have turned out, and the pollen has taken up the stain really well. So what I'm going to do next is we're going to take the microscope slide off the compound microscope and get it under the stereo microscope, where we'll be able to clean up the edge of the cover slip, and then we can use the Brunseal Black to paint a seal all the way around the edge using the ringing table. So just to show you the setup again, I've got the camera fixed via a tube into the stereo microscope, and then we've got our light source at the back here, which again you can obtain from Brunel Microscopes, and it has a variable light source, so you can adjust the light source, and that's really effective and really helpful. And then we've got the zoom function on the microscope here, and this is the ringing table. These are the arms of the light source, and this is a cold LED light source. And then if I bring it in close, I've put a piece of paper beneath the slide so that you can see the slide more easily, and this is on the ringing table so that I can turn it and just be able to trim all of the excess glycerine away from the edge prior to sealing it with the Brunseal Black. So let's take a look at it through the microscope and see what we've got. So here we're looking at the side of the cover slip on top of the microscope, and you can see the colour of the pollen that's taken up the stain. And I'm just going to focus it in so that we can see the edge, and there you can see the individual grains of pollen. And if I zoom in on that, you'll be able to see quite clearly the individual pollen grains. And so using the zoom microscope, we're now at 40 times magnification. It's really effective to be able to use the microscope just to confirm prior to going onto the compound microscope that you have got a decent sample to view. So that's a really effective use of the zoom facility. So I'm going to zoom it out again now and take it back to the edge, and we're going to use a scalpel blade to just trim away the excess at the edge here. So what I've done here is placed the slide onto the ringing table, and you can see how freely it spins, and the easiest way to clean it up is with a small piece of tissue that's been moistened and just placed it around the edge. And if you gently place the tissue against the edge of the cover slip, as it spins it will then clean it up. And there we've got a perfectly clean edge to the cover slip, ready to take the Brunseal Black. So here's the setup for sealing the circular cover slip on top of the sample on our microscope slide. This is our ringing table. As you can see, the table spins really nicely. We've got our Brunseal Black seal that we're going to use, and this section here is where you rest your hand, and the idea is that you spin the table and then gently place the tip of the brush on the edge of the cover slip with it coated in Brunseal, and as it spins it then paints a nice circular line all the way around the edge of the cover slip and seals it. The best thing to do is to just have a few practice spins just to get a feel for it, get an eye for where you want to put the brush. And as long as you don't paint into the middle of the cover slip, it doesn't really matter. You can spread the paint out slightly and give yourself a nice wide border, or you can try and just put a very fine line around the edge of the cover slip. Whatever suits you is exactly how you want to do it. So we're going to get the lid off the Brunseal and paint a circle around the edge of the cover slip. Okay, so we've put the ring onto the microscope slide. We're now going to just remove the slide nice and gently. So there's the ring painted onto our slide, and now we're going to let that dry and work on some labels. So in terms of labelling, it's fairly straightforward. What you need to do is to maximise the amount of space that you've got on the microscope slide, and I find that a 21mm square is about as much as you need and as much as you can fit onto the microscope slide, because you want to include some pertinent information about the particular sample that you've got on your slide. So what I've used is some self-adhesive labels that are fairly close to the size, and just created a box in a word processing document, put a black line around the box so that it all kind of fits together, and then typed in the information that you need. Ideally, the information that you want to have on your sample is the common name and the Latin name. So for us it's hazel, and Corylus is the species. I don't know exactly what species it is, so you then put SPP to indicate that it's a species of Corylus. The date that the slide was produced, which was the 1st of February, and the location. Ideally, if you can give a grid reference or maybe a postcode, something like that, that would be ideal. For me, it was just in one of my apiaries, so I've indicated the apiary. That's the information that you'd put on the first label, and that goes on the left hand side of the slide. And then on the right hand side you'd put another label, and on that you'd put the approximate size of the sample. So for the hazel it's approximately 25 micrometers or microns. It's a whole mount, we're dealing with a whole specimen, so you would type whole mount. And then we know that we've got safranine in a glycerine jelly, so the type of mountant that you've used, and then your name at the bottom. And this is what it looks like on the slide. So that's the hazel slide complete. It's been sealed and it has labels attached to it, so I can pop that away and know that I can go back to it if I need to use it for a reference point, and it's going to have a nice label on it so I can easily identify it. So that's the hazel slide completed. It's got a nice seal around the cover slip, so the sample is now protected. We've got labels on it so that I can go back to it in a few weeks' time and know that it's hazel slide without having to actually look under the microscope at it and then have to re-identify it. And we can use that for reference in the future if I want to look at some honey and maybe I find some pollen grains in it that look similar. I can always go to that slide and use it as a reference point. I hope you found that interesting. My thanks again to Brunel Microscopes for their sponsorship of our videos, and if you haven't yet subscribed, please do hit the subscribe button, and don't forget to give us a thumbs up if you enjoyed the video, and we'll catch up next time. Thanks for watching.